I manage a duplex in Port Orange. The owner had owned it for 6 years. Solid tenants, stable rent. The property practically ran itself. This year, his insurance renewal came in and he called me. His premiums went from $2,800 a year to $6,300. Same property, same coverage, same carrier, until they repriced every policy in their Florida portfolio and sent out the renewals. That's $3,500 a year that he did not budget for. $291 a month off his cash flow on a duplex that was already running pretty thin. If you're looking at Florida investment properties right now and you're running numbers without getting a real insurance quote first, you are making the same mistake. And today, I'm going to give you the 4 things that you really need to check on every Florida property before you make any offer. And rule number 3 is the one that surprises even experienced investors and some agents too. Stick with me. I'm Moe Remillard, licensed Florida real estate broker and community association manager. I own Premier Property Group of Volusia County, and I've been managing rental properties since 2013. I see real insurance quotes on real properties every day, and here's what those numbers are telling me. Here's the short version of what happened. Starting around 2021, major national insurance carriers started pulling out of the state of Florida entirely. They weren't just raising their rates, they were just leaving. Farmers insurance, bankers insurance, several others, they decided that the exposure here just wasn't worth it. And that pushed hundreds of thousands of Florida property owners onto Citizens Insurance. We like to call them the state-backed insurer of last resort. And Citizens was never designed for that volume. And so as a result, the premiums went up. And then Hurricane Ian hit in 2022, Hurricane Idalia in 2023, more losses, more increases. And what this means for you is simple. The insurance number on any old listing, any seller's disclosure, any Zillow estimate is almost certainly wrong. What you need is a current quote before you make any financial decision on any Florida property. So here are the 4 things that I always check on every deal. Rule number 1, get your insurance quote before you make an offer. Not after you're under contract, before. And this is the single most important thing I can tell you about buying in Florida right now. Before you submit an offer, before you're emotionally attached to a deal, and before you spent money on inspections, you need to call an independent Florida insurance agent and get a quote. Now, why an independent agent? Because an independent agent shops multiple carriers. A captive agent, on the other hand, someone who only works with one company, can only show you one price. And in a market that's this unstable, you really want to work with somebody who can access the entire market. And when you call, you need to give them some information. You need to give them the property address, the year it was built, the construction type, so whether it's wood frame or concrete block, and whether it's in a flood zone. And they can usually get you a ballpark in about 24 to 48 hours. In Volusia County, I've personally seen landlord insurance quotes range from about $1,800 a year on a solid concrete block home inland up to $8,000 or more on a wood frame property near the coast. That difference, $6,200 a year, is over $500 a month off your cash flow. It changes whether a deal works at all. So get the quote before the offer every time. Rule number 2, make sure that you have the right type of policy for how you're actually using the property. A homeowner's policy is designed for a property that you live in. So if you rent out a home that's covered under a homeowner's policy and you didn't tell your insurer that you were renting it, you may have no coverage when something actually goes wrong because you violated the policy terms the moment you placed a tenant. What you actually need as a landlord is a dwelling fire policy, also called a landlord policy. It's built for rental properties, and it typically covers the structure, the liability, And in some policies, loss of rental income if the property becomes uninhabitable after a covered event. So always check the policy you have. Check it right now. If it says homeowners or HO3 and you have tenants in that property, call your agent today. Rule number 3, check the FEMA flood zone before you do anything else on a Florida property. Flood insurance in Florida is not included in your homeowners or landlord policy. It is a completely separate policy. And in Volusia County and across most of Florida's coast and river corridors, a significant number of properties sit in FEMA designated flood zones, which means your lender will require flood insurance before they'll close the loan. And here's the number that matters. I have personally seen flood insurance add $2,000 a year to a property's cost in this area. On properties close to water, ICW frontage, near the Halifax River, near any of our canals, I've seen it hit $7,000 a year or more. $7,000 a year. That's $583 a month on top of your regular insurance. So how do you check? Go to msc.fema.gov. That is the FEMA Flood Map Service Center. Type in the address and it tells you exactly what flood zone the property is in. It takes 2 minutes. So do it before you do anything else on any Florida property near water. This is the one thing that surprises people because sellers and agents don't always bring it up and it's not in the listing. You have to check on that yourself. Rule number 4. If the property is a condo, you need to understand what the HOA master policy covers and what it doesn't cover. I covered HOA documents in video number 1, and I'll link it into the description for you. But from a pure insurance standpoint, the one question you need answered on every condo purchase is this. Is the HOA master policy bare walls in or all in? Bare walls in means the HOA's policy covers the exterior, which is the walls, roof, and structure, and everything inside the unit is your responsibility. The floors, the cabinets, appliances, your interior walls. You need your own HO6 condo policy to cover what the master policy leaves out. Now, all in means the master policy extends further, sometimes covering the originally installed fixtures. But even then, you still need your own policy for liability and any improvements you've made. So ask for the master policy and then ask your insurance agent to read it. Know exactly where their coverage ends and yours begins before you close, not after. Now I want to give you the bigger picture before we wrap up. Florida is still one of the best real estate markets in the country. Population is growing. Rental demand is strong in Volusia County and across Central Florida. I'm not here to scare you out of Florida investing. I'm here to make sure that you go in with accurate numbers. Now, the investors getting hurt right now are the ones that are running their deals on assumptions from 2019 and 2020. They're running old insurance estimates, no flood zone checks, no master policy reviews. They close and then the real cost hit. The investors winning in this market are the ones who run the real numbers from the start. They get the insurance quote first, they check the flood zone, they read the HOA documents, they build their offer price around what the property actually costs to own, not what they hoped it would cost. So in a market where the margins are tighter, the difference between a good deal and a bad deal is often in the numbers. And those numbers most people don't check. And that's why I make these videos. 3 things before we go. 1, the free Florida HOA Investor Checklist is linked in the description. It has a full section on insurance, exactly what to check, exactly what to ask. Download it and use it on every Florida deal. Number 2, if you're looking at a specific Florida property right now and you want a licensed set of eyes on the numbers, I offer consulting calls through Premier Property Group of Volusia County. That's 45 minutes. We go through the entire deal together, and that link is also in the description. And then number 3, subscribe. New video every week. Everything I cover comes from 13 years of actually being licensed and working in this market, not reading about it. I'm Moe Remillard. I'll see you in the next one.